Hello there. Welcome to Cool Talk. We're going to be talking about the 19th President of the United States, Rutherford Hayes. Look at this bearded guy you got right over here. That's Mr. Hayes, Rutherford. I wonder what he would have looked like without the beard. I mean, here's a picture. I mean, I think he looks much better there. But after the Civil War, there were a lot of beards going on, and beards and sideburns and so on. But anyway, Rutherford Hayes, one term as president, and what is he remembered for? Well, he was remembered for ending Reconstruction. In spite of Ulysses S. Grant and Andrew Johnson, people still wanted to punish the South. He decides we have to end this. But before we get to that, let's talk about his past. He was born in 1822. He was a lawyer. He married a woman named Lucy Webb, and she was very religious. He went to the Civil War. He fought in the Civil War, and get this, he was wounded 5 times and survived. Came back from the war, became a congressman, became governor of Ohio. He opened a reform school for girls, and he opened a school for the deaf-mute. So, he runs for president. 1876, he runs for president, and it was a highly disputed election. He actually lost the popular vote, but because of some things that were going on, somehow he managed to get the electoral vote. So he becomes president. However, people looked at him and they would call him names. They called him Rutherford Hayes because of what happened. As president, he pushes forth the Civil Rights Act, and he's trying to get Congress to give him money, funds, so he could help protect the blacks. Black people in the South were being attacked. They were not, the Civil Rights Act that guaranteed them their rights to vote, etc., their rights were being trampled on. Hayes wanted to send troops down there, people down there, officials, to guarantee them their rights. Congress would not give him those funds. They denied him those funds for the civil rights laws. There were a couple of railroad strikes. Thousands of railroad workers, they got their wages cut, and they went on strike. And riots broke out. Well, Hayes sent troops out there. Controversially, troops were sent out there. They restored order. Unfortunately, there were a few deaths. And these workers, they went back to work. Their wages were not cut so drastically, but their wages were still cut. Hayes was worried because France helped open the Suez Canal up there in the Middle East. And now France had their eyes on the Isthmus of Panama. Now, the Isthmus of Panama, what separates North and South America, which later, of course, the Panama Canal would cut through that. But at the time, there was no canal. He was worried the French would want to build the canal. Keep in mind that the Isthmus of Panama at that time was not in Panama. That land still belonged to Colombia. And we'll get to that. But anyway, there were several Indian uprisings, and Hayes was very much involved in all of these. A lot of Native Americans lost their land. He did compensate a lot of these Native Americans, but a lot of Native Americans had to move up to Canada or to Indian Territory in Oklahoma. There is not much to say about Rutherford Hayes. He only served 1 term. He chose not to run for re-election. One interesting thing, though, is that during his presidency, him and his wife, they were teetotalers. They didn't drink. They were very religious. They didn't drink. So there was no alcohol served in the White House. I think the very first reception, they did have some wine, and then that was it. No alcohol. And everybody called Rutherford Hayes' wife Lemonade Lucy because there was no alcohol in the White House. And pretty much that's it. That was a very uneventful presidency for Mr. Rutherford Hayes. If he had run for re-election, if he had won, maybe he could have pushed forth a few other things. Our assessment of him, it's not bad, and he's more along the lines, when experts put their ratings of the presidents, he's kind of on the bottom half, but not on the bottom, if you know what I'm saying. Average, I guess you could say, or slightly below average. But anyway, that's it for President Hayes, and subscribe to Cool Talk. I want to hear your comments. In the meantime, have a nice day.